Yeah, we can go ahead and get started. Just use the little hand raise if you've got a question. All right, we'll start with Ben.
Yeah, Mike, with the weather and stuff like that, does that change anything travel-wise for you guys? Just what are the preparations like for this weekend?
Um, just just seems like just a continuation as far as not knowing how you're going to get through it. Yeah, it does throw a little bit of a curveball, to our travel people and our ops people trying to figure out how we're going to get there. Um, the good news is we're going to play. It's a dome, and we need to get there. And so I'm sure I'm not telling you anything you don't know. You probably looked at the weather both ways, and they're getting some weather on Wednesday. We're getting it Wednesday as well. But one of our biggest issues is normally we would fly, which it looks like we're going to do, but we deadhead a bus because of COVID protocol. Will deadhead 2 buses. The problem is trying to get the buses that have the gear on it, getting them there, and so that's probably the biggest obstacle right now. Talked to Sean Decker with the Rangers just a couple hours ago, and obviously they've been great, and just said they'll do whatever we need to do, to make the tournament and the games go on. Even if we had to change the schedule a little bit as far as who plays who on a certain day, they just want us, of course, our university, our administrators, our team, everybody feel comfortable with the travel. And so it's a little too soon right now. I think we probably got to get through another at least 24 hours or so, maybe 48 hours to figure out exactly when we're leaving. But I think everything's on the board. That's why I think, I don't think there'll be a doubt that we'll play. At least at this point, I feel very confident in that. But there's a possibility that the schedule could change and even push back where, if there's travel delays, you could play Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Chase, go ahead.
Just kind of curious, Mike, was anybody able to get to the field yesterday? I'm sure obviously they couldn't today, but what practice days have you guys lost, or what do you hope for the rest of the week?
Yesterday, we really didn't get much, accomplished. The hope, the weekend was shaping up, better. I don't know, better, probably not the best word to say, but got in what we thought and hoped that we would get in over the first 2 days. So as you probably know, all the starters had thrown. We got all the relievers out on the mound, at some point to throw an inning or two. And so we just inter-squatted on Friday and Saturday, and some really tough weather, but really proud of our guys, the way they handled it. Just terrific. Just showed a lot of toughness. Like great body language, great energy, and really gutted it out for a couple of days. And so the goal for yesterday was just to go over some team fundamentals, some stuff, because we knew this week was going to be tough. And we weren't able to do that. By the time we thought the weather would get in somewhere around 3-4 o'clock, and so we had the kids scheduled to come in around 11. But by 10:30 or so, we got some calls, which is kind of like the procedure that we have in place at Ole Miss. Is if they can't make it, if they feel from their apartments or wherever they're living, if they don't think they can get to the facility, all they need to do is call. And we had, I think, 12 guys, text and or call that couldn't get to the facility yesterday just because the roads were too bad where they lived. And what guys that we got there, the pitchers were able to do their throwing for the week or that day, that particular day, and get in the weight room. And the position players basically just got in the weight room. We got everybody out of the building by, I think, noon yesterday. Everybody was gone somewhere between 11:30 and noon. Oh, and I guess I don't know how this week's going to, I guess the second part was, this week. And we don't know. We're just going to have to figure it out. Obviously, nothing today tomorrow looks tough. Just sitting here in Oxford looking at it, still snow's kind of still a few flakes coming down, but a lot of ice on the roads, as you know, and so don't know when it'll be feasible to get back to the facility.
Do you expect Wes Burton back this week, and how are you health wise other than him?
Yeah, I mean, I think Wes is scheduled, if I'm not mistaken, to throw a bullpen on Tuesday. He long tossed, and I may have these days screwed up, but I think I'm right on Saturday, and pulled down and let it go with no pain. Felt great. And only not pitching one weekend. He had pitched the weekend before, got a little shoulder soreness, and just been really rehabbing it and getting after it with Josh Porter, our trainer. Don't think that I still want to throw a bullpen before we take off, but I think he's going to be fine.
Parrish, go ahead.
Mike, with the times you have been outside for the intra squads and whatnot, what have you seen? I mean, how do you like what you have seen just in terms of offense pitching? Are you pleased with where you guys are?
I really am, and I may have mentioned it last week, but we have really swung it well, and just really proud of the guys, and not always the best weather, but the hitters have been very businesslike, and it's not to say that we haven't pitched well. I mean, there's some guys that have given up runs, and maybe a little even head scratcher where Gunnar or Diamond have given up more runs than you would want, but their stuff has been good. I mean, Gunnar's I think hit 95 every day out, and not just velocity, but it's really come down to not making a few pitches, and the hitters have made them pay. But it hasn't been necessarily walking people or doing things like that. Just a few misses here or there where innings have gotten away and they've given up a couple runs. But for the most part, the hitters have really dominated the 3 weekends. But Nikhazy's pitched really well, and McDaniel and Broadway and others. So I really it's been good. It's been good. I think we had enough good days early that we got enough of the team fundamentals. This is usually the week where we're reviewing a lot of stuff. So to be a little disappointed, in that part of it, that we wouldn't get some of that stuff in. But, game wise and the at bats and the innings, we're ready to go, and I feel good about it.
Offensively, who has stood out for you on these weekends?
Wow. I think the usual suspects, have swung it really well. Trey LaFleur got off to a great start, as we talked a couple weeks ago, but got in a collision at first base, and separator dislocated his shoulder, I guess is a better way of stating it. And, he'll miss the first week, and I think I said that last week, but maybe I didn't. And it's kind of one of those, day to day. He's done really well in his rehab and looks terrific. I don't see it. It's a non-throwing shoulder, so I don't see him being out, for an extended period of time. But certainly not going to be ready the first weekend. Trying to think. Elko's swung it really well. Jacob Gonzalez has swung it really well. Bench maybe doesn't have although this past weekend he had a great weekend, he got a lot of hits, but may not have the statistically the highest batting average. But I thought he has swung it really well. Chatnier has swung it really well. So again, a lot of guys have gotten off to a good start.
Nick, go ahead.
Mike, you talked about the fundamentals. Is that all you lose if you can't get to the facility this week, or are there other things that you were looking to get installed maybe this week that you sacrifice?
No, nothing really new. Most of it's just review. And then the other thing is, just like in any sport in season, you're about to start the season and you want to try to stay in that routine. And so I think this is the first, we thought, we'd have to be flexible and patient because of COVID, and Mother Nature gets us. And so, but I think think what we've learned through the pandemic of being able to just control what you can control. And I know you guys have heard that so much, but it's really true. I mean, if you can't get the facility, do what you can, in the meantime, or, just make sure that you stay safe, because, it's Oxford. It's not like we're going to be snowed in for a week, right? Or at least hopefully, we'll get back to the facility as soon as we can.
All right, we'll go to Chris.
Coach, apologies for the lighting in my background. Could you please talk about how COVID restrictions are affecting the movement of players in the dugout? Are we bunching up? Obviously, we're not bunching them up, but is everybody going to be able to be in the dugout? Stuff like that.
There's no necessarily rule. It's up to each school and how they handle it, which I think is probably wise. I mean, they don't, the SEC or the NCAA doesn't tell us, how many to have in a locker room or how many to have in a meeting room. Most of those are dictated by, schools and policies and even, governors and those types of restrictions. So they didn't, send down any, they just, asked us to be careful and be wise and do a lot of the things that we've already been doing. So with that being said, a couple of things that we're doing, rather than, it's been asked, and when some schools may do it, where you put some of the players into the stands just to alleviate just so much clustering in the dugout. We don't want to take away any more seats than already are happening. So we're not putting anybody in the stands, but we are going to put guys into the bullpen. Usually, if you realize we don't usually send guys to the bullpen until we need to get them up and they need to start throwing. And so we'll look more like a pro team, where we'll probably send 10 pitchers or so down immediately to the bullpen, and have some chairs down there spread out. We're also going to have a timer. I don't know the minutes, but I think it's around every 8 to 10 minutes where buzzer will go off, where they can kind of move around and rotate. It's hard to do like what we would do at a meal, where we would try to sit positive negatives, just to keep the the guys that haven't gotten it, to keep those guys separated. Hard to do that in a dugout and playing a game, but we certainly don't want two guys sitting for an extended period of time next to each other in a dugout. So we'll have a little bit of a musical chairs going on in the dugout.
Thanks.
Chase, go ahead.
Back to LaFleur for a second, Mike. Offensively, isn't it harder on being the lead shoulder than the back shoulder from a hitting and kind of getting back standpoint? Do I have that right?
I would think so. I don't know. If you think of Matt Snyder, back 10 years ago when he had it, and his was because he was a right-handed thrower, and so it was his non-throwing arm, but he's a left-handed hitter like Trey. Mm-hmm. I would think, but Trey's already swung, so that's why I feel good about it. He's already swung, and he's probably further along than I thought he would be at this point. So he's still not ready. The strength's not there, but he's further along than I thought he'd be at this point.
Ben, go ahead.
Yeah, Mike, to piggyback off of that, outside of Trey, is there anybody else you anticipate not having this weekend?
I know I'm not allowed to say it. We'll lose one kid to COVID that won't travel with us, but I know I'm not allowed to. And I know you guys are used to that. There'll be one player that is tested positive that won't be traveling with us. We test again on Wednesday, so that's about all I know.
And the second thing is, obviously you're playing 3 top 10 teams, so they're all good. But what makes TCU in particular, the first team you face, challenging? I mean, what makes them good?
You're right. I mean, they're all good, and just really started to kind of delve into it a little bit. But I think they're unique, but maybe not as unique in the year that we're in, where they got so many older guys, so many veteran guys in the lineup. Obviously they always pitch well. Jim Schlossnagle does such a terrific job, and Kirk Sarlos is pitching coach. But this team, I think, is a little scary just because of how old they are, and a team that I think is went to like 4 College World Series in a row, and although that it's been a couple of years removed, I think the tradition and the belief of those kids when they get to that program that they're going to be one of the best teams in the country, and when you look at this team, they got a couple aces that could start on Friday night, and I think the veteran lineup. So when you have a guy that can start on Friday night, match up with anybody, and then you have a veteran lineup, I think it's a tough match.
Anything else for Coach? All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.